Evolution of a Nobody, Book 2, Chapters 18 and 19, Echoes of the First Light. "I'm back!" Albert shouted. "Mom, are you home?" He asked as he tossed the plastic bags with that night's dinner on the countertop where the crinkling noise quickly followed the thud of their landing. "I bought your favorite. I'll even cook if you'll just come out. I mean it. I bought shrimp and bacon, a hunk of provolone cheese. I'll make skewers like we used to with Dad. Can we have dinner together tonight?" he shouted. There was no answer. In his room, Raziel slowly rose to her feet, as did Liala. For a moment he sounded so happy. The pair quietly opened the door and went down the short hall. On the wall there was a small mirror, and by looking into it they could catch sight of the next room. Albert came into the line of view for his reflection to become visible. His smile was so big, so bright and full of life, but he stopped dead in his tracks when no answer came. Before their eyes they could see the change slowly coming over him.
"Oh, she's asleep. Or at work. Asleep, she's so tired. Always working. How long has it been since we've had dinner together? Why won't she wake up just once for me?
Or skip a shift and stay with me? Just once? Just once? No, not work. She quit. She quit. She's not there, so she must be here. Where else would she be? If not with me, she must be—" The warmth on his face melted away. "I was going to try it, like we used to." He was already blinking fast, and neither angel nor demon could take another moment. "Hey, we should do this, don't you think?" Raziel said, rounding the corner and coming into view. Her wings were stiff and spread wide, as if she were in mid-flight with a full gust of wind beneath them. Liala's were the same. Albert stared blankly, his eyes losing their luster and becoming a far more dull brown by the time he managed to say, "But what if my mom wakes up or comes home from elsewhere and wants me? What if the school called her? I wanted to have dinner with her just in case." "It won't take long. We'll be done before Lisa gets here," Raziel said, and glanced to her left, catching the eye of her sister. Liala spoke up. "No, it won't take long at all, and I'll even cook. I've been looking up some recipes. I heard what you said you bought. I think I can manage some bacon-wrapped skewers." She licked her lips and her eyes sparkled. "They look delicious. Were they a favorite for your mother, or is it for you, too?" "I can make something else for you if you'd like." "No, they're one of mine, too," Albert answered. "If—" He almost raised his voice to the angel. He almost said, "If you don't mind cooking for a barbarian." But though the sparkle in her eyes was there, she stood a step farther back from him than her sister. "I said something stupid, mean, and insensitive." "I was wrong," Liala said, her wings folding in against her back. She gave a half bow to him and lowered her eyes. "Let's just go with—" "You said something stupid and leave it at that," he said at last. I did. I know," Liala answered and hung her head. "You promise you didn't really mean it, that you just weren't thinking?" Albert asked, a twinge of uncertainty in his speech. He inched closer.
Yes."
Raziel pointed out what our world was really like. Things I didn't notice. "I feel kind of stupid now." "Can you forgive me?" Liala asked, without taking a step away from him, nor toward him. Albert rolled his eyes. "Maybe I overreacted. You're not even from this world, and till me you'd never even seen a human." "So, are we okay?" Liala asked, and lightly bit her lower lip. "Yeah, I just needed some time to think," Albert answered and took another step forward. "You've only tried to help me since you got here, and it's not like we've never had a misunderstanding before. I should give you the benefit of the doubt." He then reached his arms around her, one over the shoulder and one around her waist, and hugged her, pressing her chest against his. She returned the tight embrace after rising slightly on her tiptoes. She sighed with relief. "I'm sorry, really," she said again. "I know. I believe you," he answered, and slowly the hug was released, and they stepped back from one another, though Liala moved directly beside her sister rather than staying one step farther away. "So what do I do?" Albert asked and clapped his hands together. He was looking past them, to the hallway that would lead either to his room or that of his mother. "Lie down on your bed, make yourself comfortable, and close your eyes," Raziel said, and with a snap of her fingers she pointed toward the hall. "I'm a little bit better at this than my sister, so this won't take long. Then I'll pass what I learn on to her." He glanced over toward the kitchen area, but Liala wordlessly walked past them both, with her wings folding in and out of the way to move easier in the relatively confined space. "I can handle this," she promised with a wink. "You just trust my sister." Liala said, and began working the oven dials and sorting through the bag Albert brought back to the apartment. "All right, I can do that," Albert said, and strode into the bedroom. Raziel stood just inside the entrance. Her hand found the knob, and she shut the door soundlessly behind her while Albert lay down on the mattress. It squeaked a little underneath the weight of his now muscle-rich body. His limbs were heavy and relaxed, utterly unmoving with his palms and toes pointed up. He let out a deep breath as he tried to let the tension melt away. It's so easy to forget that he's in denial about her. So very easy. He seems so normal right now. At least what I think is normal for a human. Gods of the Allverse, what even is normal for a human male? Raziel asked herself when she thought about her utter lack of a meaningful metric to work with. Family ties were important for demons. Orphans like her were rare among her race. Raziel knew that much, recalling the surprised faces of the few demons she'd met who learned she had no one to look after her and lived in an orphanage. They were always less surprised when they found out I was a potential, Raziel reflected while she walked over to Albert's side. Just relax. She repeated with a smile on her face that bared her fangs. Her wings spread out as far as they could go. He couldn't see it when he closed his heavy-lidded eyes. "I won't hurt you, I promise," she whispered to him. "I know," he said and waited. Her forehead was very warm to the touch, like a porcelain bowl left just a little too long in the microwave, noticeable but without burning. He heard her speak in the guttural mother tongue she used when casting spells, and then he heard nothing. "So, this is different." Raziel looked down and saw that she was naked. "It must be because of where I am." It was dark, extremely dark, but she could hear voices. "A woman screaming!" "He's being born. I went a little farther back than I meant to. Human minds are so confusing." She looked around in the darkness and waited for the first visual memory to form. Albert wasn't with her. That was different, too. Supposedly, when you're looking through a memory, the person can come with you. But then again, humans here don't seem to have any defenses against mental intrusion. Does he have any idea what he's leaving himself open for? It was almost unthinkable, and so Raziel thought about it a lot as the minutes passed, and she waited to see what form the memories would take. "Is he—" A woman's cry again. Definitely his mother. "Not yet. Just keep going," a man's passionate voice. "It'll be fine, Dr. Lamarck. Just trust me." "The first voice must be his father. He sounds different than I expected." Raziel smiled in the darkness. She could hear crying, and suddenly the darkness was flooded with light. She staggered back as if she'd been struck and brought her forearm up to protect her eyes. "Damn it! Too bright!" she shouted, and her voice echoed back at her. The light dimmed, and she could hear crying. So human babies cry when they're born, too. It was an amusing thought in its own way, and gradually the dimming faded. She was present as if seeing through his eyes. "Well now, aren't we a complicated one, Albert?" she asked rhetorically, recalling that simpler minds were far more abstract. She tried to move and found her body all but immobile. "Great, I'm stuck," she thought and relaxed. In different circumstances, that might have been something to worry about, but knowing humans had no natural mental defenses, she was comfortably sure this wasn't a trap. She waited until she felt herself move, slowly approaching the couple. The room she was in was a sterile white, and a man with sandy hair loomed in front of her like a giant. He had a beard with the same almost but not quite tan shade, some rough mix of brown and tan. "Welcome to the world, my boy. Welcome to the world. It's a bigger place than you know right now, but I can't wait to see what you do in it," Albert's father said, and Raziel felt herself tumble onto her back, seeing the young man from Albert's perspective as the father cradled his son. For a moment there was darkness as the blue scrub-wearing man's hand went over Albert's eyes, and she could hear the gasping voice of Albert's mother. "He's whole, healthy," she gasped. She had a voice as soft as honey, whereas Albert's father was like a rich tenor. His mother's voice was gentle as the touch of silk. Albert, however, had a thorough reedy wail. "His lungs sure are healthy," the attending doctor said behind his soft blue mask. "That's a good sign." Raziel watched it all through his eyes. It was oddly fascinating in a way, to see how similar the peoples of both worlds could be with the arrival of children. That was when she got the first look at Albert's mother. She had blonde hair, and though her face was flushed red and she was breathing hard, she still had a cute-looking, almost apple-like face. Maybe if I... Raziel tried to walk. Still nothing. She was rooted to the spot. Should I watch? She wondered and felt a vague sense of guilt at the very idea. No, maybe I can sort... I didn't have this much trouble before. I shouldn't have tried to go back farther. She cursed herself and tried to sort through time, only to find that no gesture worked, and neither did her spells. Shit! Raziel cursed again. Humans don't have any internal mana. I can't move around and I can't draw on his body for magic. I'm stuck. I'm going to owe him such a deep apology for this. She would have hung her head if she could. In her own homeworld, looking at memories uninvited was on par with an intimate assault. Even if he doesn't see it that way, I do, and I didn't mean to go back like this. Raziel did her best to at least close her eyes, only for voices to invade again. While the outside world would continue, at least within memories, time was greatly accelerated, and if a memory didn't form, the time was simply passed by. Every few memories, Raziel tried to walk. She made a little progress when Alber's memories included crawling across the floor. That helped her way across several months' worth, during which it seemed a very normal existence for all their bizarre tools, at least. His mother and father are both cooks, though they seem to prepare different things. She noticed he had a penchant for preparing red meat, while she tended to prepare chicken, and Albert had a tendency to giggle and throw things. She listened to him laugh and watched a bit of mashed potato go sailing across the table and splat against the wall. He used a spoon that time. Maybe he'll have a talent for physics, Dr. Lamarck suggested. Just before more potato sailed across the table and smacked him in his beard, it dripped down until Albert's father took up a napkin and wiped it off without complaint. I doubt he was calculating the way extending his grip would increase the range of the potato, dear, Albert's mother said, and got up from the table before approaching the infant. I'll clean him up, you handle the table. Oh, come on, let a father dream. Dr. Lamarck chuckled and tousled Albert's little mop of hair before he stood up and began to clear the table. Raziel tried moving again when Albert took his first steps. Aha! I can't do what he doesn't understand. This makes more sense. That's why his later memories were more like screens. Still, her steps were shaky, and as she wobbled her way forward, with the memories forming and passing by that much faster, a tiny ghost-like figure began to form at her side. The light began to fade further, and under her feet she began to see a vague road begin to form. Broad at first, then narrowing as the figure solidified and numbers eventually formed. Hello? She tried addressing the gray, fog-like little figure that was slowly coalescing into the shape of a small human. It remained a little gray cloud as she walked, saying nothing for what felt like the longest time, but as her steps picked up in ease, the features became ever more clear. She stopped dead in her tracks. A calendar, she realized while looking down at her feet. Wow, that was hard, Albert said in the high-pitched voice of a child.